Hey everyone, how's it going? Coming to y'all with another Commander deck tech, and this one is on my wife's Tolsimir Friend to Wolves deck. So, my wife is a dog lover, an animal lover in general, really, and she thought it was really funny that she had a werewolf deck, and our werewolf deck isn't great. It's built around Grimlock, Dinobot Leader, and we're really looking forward to the upcoming Innistrad set later this year, hoping to bolster the number of decent werewolves. But she thought it was really funny that she had that, and she was commenting that she would love to also have Wolf Tribal and Fox Tribal at some point. And then, didn't take very long after building werewolves for War of the Spark to drop, and then Tolsimir came out. And she thought, and she was like, hey, does anyone... We kind of have a rule in the meta that we don't like to have duplicate decks running around or duplicate commanders running around. So we use a dib system and we conversate based upon current deck lineup, interest in play pattern, and so on and so forth. And we figure out pretty much who gets which commanders if there's multiple interest in the same commander. No one else was interested in Tolsimir Friend to Wolves, so she asked me to go ahead and put it together for her. And so I did. The point behind this deck is making tons of wolf tokens and fighting as much as humanly possible to control the board, and then swinging out and killing with an army of wolves. So Tolsimir Friend to Wolves is a 3/3 for 2 green and a white, legendary creature Elf Scout. Whenever he enters the battlefield, you create a 3/3 Voja token named Voja Friend to Elves, which is a 3/3 legendary green and white wolf. And whenever a wolf enters the battlefield under your control, you gain 3 life, and it fights up to 1 target creature you don't control. So wolves basically become removal spells. This is actually very capable of keeping the board clear of giant threats. You may think, well, 2/2 wolves aren't going to do all that much even if they're fighting constantly, but you would be amazed just how well this can actually clear off the board. So, let's go ahead and jump into the 99. Like always, I'm going to kind of breeze the lands because they're just lands. So, Command Tower, Exotic Orchard, Windswept Heath, Grasslands, Temple Garden, Canopy Vista, Scattered Grove, Fortified Village, Sun Petal Grove, Brushland, Sungrass Prairie, Branch Loft Pathway, Temple of Plenty, Stirring Wildwood, Arctic Tree Line. Oran of Vastwood does help those wolves become a little bit bigger, so when they fight they have a better chance of killing things. And Arcane Lighthouse says, we'll target your stuff all we want to, they're going to die. And then we have a few basics, so we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 planes, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 forests, and then a singular wastes. And the reason behind the waste is very simple. There's an Eldrazi Displacer in the deck, which is great for flickering things like Tolsimir himself, and being able to grab a colorless source off of a cultivate or something is actually just solid enough. So, ramp package, again, not too much interest here, just pretty much your standard stuff. So we have Soul Ring, Fyndhorn Elves, Elvish Mystic, and Llanowar Elves. They're all in here for a specific elf synergy you'll see in a bit. Sakura Tribe Elder, Nature's Lore. For some reason I don't have a Rampant Growth in this deck, I'll have to fix that. Cultivate, Kodama's Reach, Growing Rites of Itlamok is obviously insane because we can make tons of mana off of this when it turns into its Gaia's Cradle side. Smothering Tithe, we are already a token deck, so being able to make mana from tokens is solid and works well. It synergizes with other cards in the deck. Mirari's Wake pumps our wolves +1/+1 and allows us to double our mana production, which is, of course, very solid. A few actual wolves. We don't run that many actual wolves in the deck because it's just more efficient to make tons of wolf tokens. So, Spirit of the Hunt, 3/3 for 3 with Flash. Whenever it enters the battlefield, each creature you control that is a wolf or werewolf gets +0/+3 until end of turn. What this does is, after we've made a bunch of wolf tokens, we can then flash this in order to ensure that our wolves are large enough to survive the fights, so they can possibly kill the opponent's creatures and not be killed on the swing back, or on the returning fight, rather. Chameleon Colossus, it is a wolf. I know it doesn't look like one, but trust me, it's a wolf. And having protection from black can be relevant. So, sometimes it just comes down and says destroy target black creature. Anara Wolvid Familiar. It is a wolf, so obviously it's going to trigger our commander, and it gives our commander indestructible during our turn, which is nice. Scala Wolf is 5 mana for a 3/3, which is not a good rate, but it is a wolf, and it says when it enters the battlefield, look at the top 5, pick a green card, put it to hand, and put the rest at the bottom. So it is some card selection, some card advantage. Wolfear Silverheart comes down and soul bonds with another wolf and with another creature and gives them each +4/+4. So honestly, this is just a decently sized wolf that can soul bond with our commander and make our commander death in 3 swings if he connects. Into some of the token production of the deck. So Silver for Partisan is also a wolf, and it says whenever a wolf or werewolf you control becomes a target of an instant or sorcery spell, you put a 2/2 wolf onto the battlefield. So, some decent token production if people want to target our things. Sword of Body and Mind does make wolf tokens. It's actually the best sword for this deck, which is funny because this is typically the worst sword. Ferocious Pup is adorable, and that's why we run it. And it does make a wolf token. We'll never let the pup fight because it just won't win. But it is adorable and making a wolf token. I mean, come on. Irregular Cohort is a wolf, and it comes down and makes another wolf, technically. So, that's 2 fights for 4 mana, as well as 6 life. Here we go. Ren's Run Packmaster is the reason why we like the elf mana package in the deck, because it comes down, champions an elf, and worth noting, Tolsimir himself is an elf, so worst case scenario, we sacrifice off our commander, and, you know, we can obviously recast him. This creature has the ability to pay 2 and a green to make a 2/2 wolf, and gives wolf creatures Death Touch. This basically reads 2 and a green, destroy target creature, because all wolves having Death Touch means they're going to win every fight they're in. Wolf Rider's Saddle is a kind of living weapon type thing, but it happens to make a wolf token. So, yeah. Wolf Calder's Howl, one of the best wolf productions there is. Our heap, just make a number of 2/2 wolves equal to the number of opponents with 4 or more cards in hand. Usually we'll make anywhere between, 2 and 3 tokens. Predator's Howl, 4 mana to make a single wolf is not good, but 4 mana to make 3 wolves is fantastic, and Morbid is not hard to trigger. Maskwood Nexus is fantastic, because not only does it turn all of our creatures into wolves, technically, okay, changelings, but wolf is the important thing, allowing everything to fight and gain life on ETB, but we can also, pay some mana and tap it to make a 2/2 changeling, which is a wolf. So, very solid inclusion in this deck. Wolf Briar Elemental, definitely one of our best late game cards. Just play, whenever we have 10 or 11 mana on board, just cast this and pump as much into it as we can, make tons of wolves, gain tons of life, kill tons of creatures. Nightpack Ambusher gives wolves and werewolves +1/+1, and at the beginning of your end step, if you did not cast a spell this turn, you make a 2/2 wolf. Master of the Wild Hunt, another great wolf production effect. So your upkeep, you make a 2/2 wolf, and you can tap it, and tap all untapped wolves you control to have them murder something. Kezig Cage Breakers, whenever it attacks, you make a 2/2 wolf for each creature in your graveyard, which is just solid. Raised by Wolves is going to make 2 wolves on ETB and gives the enchanted creature 1/1 for each wolf you control. This usually goes on Tolsimir himself. Feed the Pack lets you sack off a non-token creature at end of turn to make X 2/2 wolves, where X is the sacked creature's toughness. So, whenever you've already used up one of your cards, even something like a little 2/1 Reclamation Sage, honestly, once it's done its thing, it doesn't matter so much anymore. Just go ahead and trade it off for some wolves. The original Tolsimir Wolfblood, of course, had to make an appearance. He pumps your green and white creatures and also makes a 2/2 green and white wolf named Voja. So, auto-include in the deck. Arlen, Voice of the Pack, lets your creatures into your wolves specifically into the battlefield with a 1/1 counter, and its neg is to make a 2/2 wolf. So, again, pumping those wolves is great to help them win their fights. And then Howl of the Night Pack, make a 2/2 wolf for each forest you control. It's not a great card, but we're playing Wolf Tribal, guys. What do you expect? It does come down, usually makes between 5 and 7 wolf tokens, and can clear the board off pretty well. Some token doublers, we have Second Harvest to double each token we control. Parallel Lives, so we produce double tokens, and Doubling Season, so we produce double tokens. The only reason this is in here is I actually needed the Anointed Procession that was in this deck for my Lyra deck, and so I found a Doubling Season we had and jammed it over here just so I could steal the Anointed Procession from my own deck. So, my wife doesn't mind, it's functionally the same card. Mark of Asylum, Preventing all non-combat damage that would be dealt to our creatures means that they are never dealt damage in the fights, so it essentially turns our fights into punches, which is solid. Nightshade Peddler, Soul Bond, as long as it's is paired, each of the paired creatures has Death Touch. This means whenever a wolf enters the battlefield, we Soul Bond it to the Nightshade Peddler, and that wolf will have Death Touch by the time it fights something, and it just murders the thing that it fights, which is fantastic. Primal Force Mage, Giant Growth's the thing whenever it enters the battlefield, meaning our wolves are going to enter as 5/5s, and that makes them much more likely to kill things on ETB. Foe Razor Regent comes down and fights a thing, but also says whenever a creature you control fights, put 2/1/1 counters on it at the beginning of the next end step. So any wolves that survive the fights are going to grow larger and become a better threat on the board state after the fact. So, fun little card. Some things to pump our tokens. We have Intangible Virtue to give them 1/1 and Vigilance. Howlpack Resurgent has Flash, so it can be used as a combat trick and gives our wolves and werewolves 1/1 and Trample. Beastmaster Ascension gives them +5/+5 as long as we attack with 7 or more, and that's really easy to do. Overwhelming Stampede is the only actual overrun we run in the deck. No Craterhoof Behemoth or Triumph of the Hordes here. I would love to add a Triumph of the Hordes at some point, though. Usually this is enough to finish the game, but this isn't trying to be a super high-powered deck anyways. Eldrazi Displacer to flicker those ETB triggers. Swiftfoot Boots is just a random piece of protection. Adventurous Impulse is a little bit of card selection. Regal Force comes down and draws us a ton of cards, because all those wolves are green, with the exception of the Shapeshifter tokens that a few of our cards can produce. Regrowth, we played our good cards. We want them back. Same thing with Eternal Witness. Some tutors are Aladomri's Call, instant speed, 2 mana, go find a creature. Altar of Bone, 2 mana, sack a creature, go find a creature. Congregation at Dawn, 3 mana, go find 3, put them to top. And Idyllic Tutor, which goes and finds us one of our relevant enchantments. Some removal. We do still run a decent removal package because we kind of have to, though this is board wipe light at the moment. I kind of realized that as I was organizing the deck. So I'm going to probably make some modifications to this. Always check the description down below. There's always a link to my tapped out page where you can see how the deck is currently, because by the time you're watching this, the deck may have been modified pretty heavily since you saw the video. Swords to Plowshares, Path to Exile, need no explanation. Moonlight Hunt, choose target creature you don't control. All of your wolves and werewolves punch it, which usually equals destroy target creature. Beast Within, just kill any permanent and they get a 3/3 beast. And then Generous Gift is the same thing, but it's an elephant. Then we have Reclamation Sage, comes down and destroys target artifact or enchantment. I've grown to like Gemrazor over Reclamation Sage in a lot of decks recently, but because we are running the Ren's Run Packmaster, having a decent number of elves in the deck is relevant to ensure that we can get that champion effect off. Aura Shards, because opponents like to play things and we don't like to let them have them. Wave of Vitriol, second burst, same as the first, so just go ahead and wipe them out. And then the only actual board wipe in the deck is Day of Judgment, which is an antiquated board wipe in the first place, so I definitely need to pump this deck's board wipe slot, because it's a little bit sad. And there we go, that is the Tolsimir Friend to Wolves commander deck. This is one that my wife absolutely loves playing, and it doesn't get a lot of attention even when you sit down at the table with it, because everyone thinks, Wolf Tribal, no big deal, but that fight effect really can add up very quickly, so I think you'd be surprised just how well Tolsimir can control the board and end up taking a win just by overrunning the field with wolf tokens. So, hope you guys enjoyed, hope you enjoy the rest of your day, and until next time, peace, and take care.